What is up, my guys? Welcome back to the channel known as Azure. As always, I'm your most endearing host, Daniel. And again, before we start, gotta get that random YouTube bullshit out of the way. So make sure you comment, subscribe, all the other bullshit. Like, although I will say share. Again, the share button does not get a lot of love, and I want to change that. So make sure you share this one, even if you don't like this, or even if you do like this. I don't know how this is going to turn out either way, but if you do like it, share it. If you don't like it, share it. So go ahead and share. There's my little 30-second rant. Now, on to the video at hand. Wonder Woman 1984 came out on Christmas courtesy of Warner Brothers and HBO Max. I gotta say, it's a weird one for me. Like, it's not as good as the first one, I'll give you that, but it's not the worst film that DC's ever put out. That one still goes to Batman and Robin. And we're talking DCEU or Worlds of DC, whatever you want to call it. Suicide Squad. No, I'm gonna throw Suicide Squad under the bus. I liked it when it came out. I still kind of like it, but all in all, compared to everything else, it's the worst of the DCEU or my bad, Worlds of DC movies. Okay, Wonder Woman 1984. Let's start with the story first. So the story kicks off in the year 1984, as well the title suggests, and it follows Diana Prince. My bad, I don't know why I stopped with her name, but Diana Prince, Maxwell Lord, and what's it? Damn it, I keep forgetting Cheetah's name in this one. Barbara Minerva. There we go. Barbara Minerva. So these are the three main characters that we have, and they're all after this one artifact called the Dreamstone. Now the thing about the Dreamstone is it grants anyone one wish. Anything they want, they just have to hold it and make a wish. Now, Cheetah wishes to be strong like Diana, or just like Diana in general. Diana inadvertently wishes for Steve Trevor to come back. I'll get into that more in a second. And Maxwell Lord has the most interesting wish of all. He wishes to be the Dreamstone itself. Now I'll get to in depth more about later, but all in all, the movie is about Diana dealing with what she made as her wish, making Steve Trevor come back, because you know how he died in the first one. It deals with Minerva dealing with her newfound abilities, doing with newfound confidence and everything like that, and deals with Lord dealing with the ability to grant wishes and to be able to take something that people hold dearly to them, because that's the catch with the Dreamstone. It grants you your wish, but in return you have to give up something that you hold on to dearly. And so that's basically it. Now let's get to the meat of this thing. The whole meat of this video is going to be mostly character, story, and what could have been done better in a sense. So let's go characters first. Start off with our main character, Diana Prince, Wonder Woman. Diana, Princess of Themyscira. Now, there's not really much to go on about her because, well, most of her character development happened in the first movie, where she was more of a fish out of water type person, where she had to deal with the whole world being at war. And this movie, kind of picks up after where she left off in the sense of a tone where she's just trying to do good to be good. She's being a hero, but she doesn't want to take credit for it because she feels as though heroes don't really need to take credit for their actions, and I can respect that. That really, that's a respectable quality. Like, not all heroes need to be recognized in a sense. And if you want to do good because you want to do good, then by all means do good. Like, you don't need to be good and be famous at the same time. So yeah, but the thing with Diana is that she inadvertently made a wish on the Dreamstone when she held it. Like, she didn't really make a wish in a sense, but she was thinking of Steve and how she wanted him to be back because she wanted to live a life with him. And again, it's relatable. Like, if you cared about someone and they're taken from you so abruptly, like how Steve died in the first movie, then you're gonna want them back. Right? And in a sense, he does come back. Like, we were led to believe in the trailer, like he magically comes back, and lo and behold, he does. But not really in the sense we think of. Like, he comes back in a way where he kind of takes over another person's body, and only Diana can see Steve Trevor for what he really is as Chris Pine, but everyone else sees him as a regular old guy, and we don't know who this guy is in a sense. Yeah. The story goes on as to why Steve Trevor's back and how it's made and what the Dreamstone actually is and who made the Dreamstone, because Diana states that God's made these artifacts, and depending on which God made the artifact, they could have really good outcomes or really bad outcomes. And lo and behold, the Dreamstone was made by an evil god, and that's why it could lead to catastrophic outcomes. Being as whoever held the Dreamstone in the past, their whole civilization crumbled to the ground whereas Mayans, Romans, Greeks, all those empires, they fell because of that dreamstone. So yeah, that's mainly what hurt. So my bad. The thing that Diana gave up in a sense was her actual powers. So she's slowly turning back into human. And it shows in this whole trailer, in the movie, my bad, not trailer, where she's having trouble breaking locks, where she can't, essentially, she's not bulletproof anymore, and her super strength is gone. So is her endurance, so is her super speed, and you notice it here and there. You're wondering like, maybe this lock was pretty tough for her to break open, but then you see her get scratched by a bullet, and you're like, wait, that shouldn't happen. Then you see her starts to slow down when it comes to chasing cars and everything like that. And you're like, wait, what's going on? Is she losing her powers? And you think, no, that can't be happening, but it is. And so yeah, all in all, the only way to get her powers back would be to recant her wish, which means she would have to voluntarily give up Steve. Like, it wouldn't be like last time where she didn't have a choice whether he died or not. She would literally have to say, I recant my wish and let go of Steve. And it's a tough decision. Right? I would have the same conflict, basically. I know a lot of people out here would too. You guys would probably have the same conflict. Like, imagine someone leaving your life so abruptly, but you get a chance to bring them back, even if it's just for a day. But you know, at the end of the day, you have to give them up again. Like, you're not 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna find a way to keep them, and that's the movie goes to show. Like, Diana's actually willing to give up her powers just to keep Steve around. Like, I mean, we all know that she ends up not doing that. That's the thing with prequels, in a sense, to the DCEU or to prequels in general. Like, you know that some things are just bound to happen, and we all know from Batman vs Superman and Justice League that she ends up keeping her powers and Steve is gone. Like, it still kind of hits. Like, Steve gives a whole speech about how like she has to give him up. She needs to move on, and like Diana's fighting him, saying like, no, I'll never move on. I'll never find another love. And Steve's like, yes, you will, and like reassuring her and everything. And at the climax of the film, she states the words, I recant my wish, and you see like herself begin to brighten up again. Like, you see bullet wounds healing, you see scratch marks fading away, you see her start to speed up, and you see her finally take flight for the first time in a sense, but not really in a traditional sense. It's like her whole flight thing is kind of weird. Like, she propels herself with a lasso by spinning it around like a propeller, and she kind of glides through the air like Toy Story style, like falling with style, in a sense. I can respect that. Like, the DCEU hasn't really shown her being able to fly, like, in general, so having her be able to fly like this is kind of okay outcome. Like, they're probably gonna fix it later on with or something like that. But other than that, that's Diana for yourself. Like, she's kind of stays who she is. She goes through struggles again, like in more sense, like emotionally rather than physically or like mentally, whereas in the first one where she had to overcome like, or understand in a sense why people do the things they do, and like there's no clear-cut villain in this story like how Ares was in the first one. It's more so her own self that she needs to fight against, her own wants and desires. And I'd say that's probably like a better choice of a villain rather than have some physical entity where someone can punch and fight and everything. But that's going to do it for Diana. Let's move on to Barbara Minerva. Barbara Minerva, or aka the Cheetah, she's kind of just there in the movie. Like, she's introduced as a clumsy person, like someone you don't really, someone that the movie portrays as someone you won't really look twice at, which is kind of weird because Kristen Wiig is an attractive woman. I'll give you that. And like she's an attractive woman. I'll give you that. Like, she's not a knockout, but she's also not someone you just like ignore on the street. Like, no, she has a level of attractiveness that's just prominent. So it's kind of hard to hide it behind all the 80s get up and everything. But yeah, she's shown like that, and she's shown to be like underconfident, like lack of charisma. She's empathetic in a sense. Like, she has a high sense of compassion towards people. Like, there's a whole scene dedicated to her, like having a conversation with a homeless guy where they know each other on a first name basis. She gives him food and they get to talking and everything like that. And then after she meets Diana, she sees how courageous she is. She sees how confident Diana is. And while she's holding the Dreamstone, she makes a wish to be exactly like Diana, but she doesn't know the fact that with that comes her strength, her endurance, her invulnerability, and everything. Like she wakes up the next day breaking open her fridge because she can't control her super strength. And I'll admit, it started off as a good origin to Cheetah. Like it cuts to her running across Washington D.C., like in a sense brushing off some people who are like, I don't want to say like verbally abusing, but more so catcalling in a sense. Like the movie goes out of its way to make sure that not all guys are like this, and I'll give that credit to where it's due. In a sense, like people catcall just to catcall in a sense, but it does show like some people like catcall just because they want to antagonize someone in a sense, because that's what happens. The last guy that Minerva faces, like he catcalls her, puts his hands on her, tries to touch her in a sense, not anywhere in the private area, but more so just in the face, like caressing in a sense, in a weird way. But this is where we see what happened, what she gave up, that she held dear. Like she starts beating on this guy, like pushing him, kicking him, in a sense, like, crushing his bones and everything like that. It's not really depicted in a graphic way, but you can see how it is. Like you get a feeling in a sense, like how it is, like a person with the strength of Wonder Woman, a person who's comparable to Superman, just going all out against a normal person. Like this dude might not survive, and you see like she lost her compassion, she lost her humanity in a sense, like where she no longer is empathetic towards people, where she's just like, okay, you fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck you up. That's basically what shit is. So yeah, that's Cheetah, and like that's pre-Cheetah, because she hasn't been Cheetah-fied yet. Cheetah-fied meaning that she hasn't gone full furry in a sense, where she's covered in fur, has a tail, has claws, and everything like that. Now, that's the thing though about this character. Like, she's given so much in the beginning as to like her own development in a sense of slowly becoming the Cheetah, that they could have had her become the Cheetah in the third movie, but towards the end, it's rushed. Like she turns into the Cheetah out of nowhere in a sense. Like she meets up with Max Lord, and she's essentially becomes his bodyguard in a sense. My bad. And like she explains to him like how now that she has this power, she wants to become an apex predator with just all this power, all this ferocity. And Maxwell Lord sees that, and knowing that she already made a wish in the Dreamstone, he promises her that he'll make that happen. So that's what happens. Like, as Maxwell Lord gets more people to make wishes, he transfers some of their power into her, and that supposedly turns her into a Cheetah in a sense. I don't know. It's kind of weird, really. Like, there's no real building up to how she becomes a furry person with a tail, with claws and everything like that. She just pops up out of nowhere. There's not really even a transformation scene, and that's kind of what loses me in the movie. Kind of what lost a lot of people too. But yeah, and then the Wonder Woman fights her, and she ends up losing her powers. But it's left ambiguous as to whether she recanted her wish or not. But I'm pretty sure she didn't really recant her wish, and she's gonna come back maybe in the third or future installment of the Wonder Woman franchise. But yeah, that's Cheetah. She's there. She's not really a standout character like how Patty Jenkins probably hoped she'd be. But I mean, what can you do? She's there. She has the development already done. And I really hope that she's better off in future movies. Now, on to probably one of my favorite characters of this movie, Maxwell Lord, played by Pedro Pascal. And I'm going to say Pedro because people always say Pedro for some reason. Like, no. I've heard even Hispanic people say Pedro. I'm like, no, that's not how you say the name. It's Pedro. Like, it's literally Pedro. You got to put the accent in there. Pedro Pascal. Like that. You guys might know him as the Mandalorian. You guys might know him from the FBI agents, Narcos, or even maybe some dude from Game of Thrones, but no. Yeah. This is Pedro Pascal. Pedro. Remember that. Pedro. Not Pedro. Not Pedro. Pedro. Okay. That's my little 20-second rant. Anyways, Maxwell Lord is an interesting character. In the comics, he doesn't really have powers until a gene bomb explodes and awakens his metahuman DNA, where he actually has the power of influence, I guess. Oh, my bad. And sense of controlling people and making them influence them. Essentially, like, if it wasn't for Lex Luthor, he might be the most influential person in all of DC. That's how powerful he is. Once some gene bomb goes off and he awakens his metahuman abilities. So yeah. But in this one, he becomes the Dreamstone in a sense, granting people wishes and choosing what to take from people. So instead of the Dreamstone picking something that they hold precious, Pedro Maxwell Lord takes something like, okay, he grants an oil tycoon's wish to seal off the city in a sense, to make it so the city is pure in a sense again. And in return, Maxwell Lord says, "I'll take your oil." Oil tycoon says, "Ha, joke's on you. I sold my oil to the Sudan already." And he goes, "Well, then I'll take your security force. So that way you can't protect yourself due to the backlash." And the next thing you know, boom, security force follows Maxwell Lord outside the building, outside the city, and then driving off to somewhere else. Then he ends up granting the wish of the president, where the president wishes to have more nukes closer to Russia because this is set in 1984, height of the Cold War and everything like that. And Maxwell Lord grants this wish on the condition that he gains all the power and influence that the president has. So in the span of 5 minutes, Maxwell Lord became just an average person who could grant someone's wish into basically the most influential person in the United States. He literally can control the United States at this point. So just imagine that. I know that this storyline gets a lot of hate because people are like, "Oh my god, he's just a genie now." Like, no, he's not really a genie. Genies grant 3 wishes, and they don't really take anything as a price or anything like that. Maxwell Lord is a dreamstone. He's a MacGuffin. He's a whatever the hell you want to call him, but he's not a genie. Right? He's a villain. Villain through and through when he's the Dreamstone. Before the Dreamstone, he was more of a con artist slash sympathetic villain in a sense because he's doing all this to give his son a better life. And towards the end of the movie, he goes back to being the sympathetic father where he's just trying to save his son because as he's granting wishes, everything's going to chaos. The whole world is on the brink of collapse because that's what happens with the Dreamstone. Like, imagine just one person making a wish and that's the fall of civilization. You give the person with the power to grant almost everyone a wish, that's going to cause the whole world to be destroyed. And then while that's happening, Diana tries to get through to Max. She ends up wrapping the lasso of truth around him and gives a whole speech in a sense of how people should come together in hard times, and how like, just because you're going through something doesn't mean you have to let that control you or wish that you can change the difference. That change needs to come from within in a sense. I'm not saying it verbatim because I want you guys to experience how it is in the movie itself. So really you should watch the movie. But going back to Maxwell Lord, he is actually captivating. Like, all the scenes that he's in are scene stealers. Like, legit, once he's in there, you already know he runs the scene. That's literally it. I'll give this to Pedro Pascal. He has range. He can go from an FBI agent on Narcos to a deadpan Mandalorian that shows more emotion with a mask on than anybody else with a mask off, to this dude that's just brimming with charisma, with his exaggeration, with just like swagger or something like that. I'm not gonna say the whole IGN quote because that's just played out at this point. If you guys know you guys know it, then you already know it. But yeah, that's Maxwell Lord. That's Barbara Minerva. My bad, not Brenda. Barbara Minerva and Diana Prince. On to story. This story, it's whatever. It's not some sort of like high stakes epic type thing, although it tries to be, and it does hit some points, whereas such Diana giving up Steve Trevor, Diana convincing Maxwell Lord to make everyone recant their wishes, to Barbara Minerva like giving her whole speech about wanting to become an apex predator and how she struggled through her life and everything about being put down upon and everything like that. It hits at some points, but the thing is, it's not really a consistent hit. Like, there's no upscaling each single one. It's just more like hit, kind of flatline, hit, again flatline, and final hit, then kind of triumphant thing, more rising, and then ultimately down. It's like kind of like that. There's a better story there. I'll give you back. I think it's because they try to pack in too many villains in this thing. Like, they pulled a Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2 in a sense, or try to shove in too many villains in everything. It balances out for the most part. They could have just left Cheetah where she was on the cutting room floor and have her turn into the actual Cheetah in the third movie or something like that, and have the main focus be on Maxwell Lord. But the fact it keeps going back and forth between Cheetah and Lord kind of like loses itself in a sense. But yeah. Other than that, I've got to say, like, this movie, it's watchable. Like, my only other gripe would be some of the special effects are not that well done. Like, if you get, it's consistent throughout the movie that the special effects aren't well done, so you kind of like notice it early on, but you get used to it in a sense. But literally we're in the height of the CGI at this point, where CGI can be mistaken for real life. So it's kind of a letdown to see like such a big budget film in a sense give such I don't want to say mediocre CGI, but it's passable. It's passable. Like some points you could tell right away where CG. Some points you can tell where it's not, and some points it's actually pretty good. Like cheetahs, for example. If you've seen leaked footage before the movie came out of Cheetah, her design was, God, it was awful. Like literally, it was something like bright orange and something like that. But no, they saw that, they toned it down a bit, and now she's more of a comic accurate cheetah, more so like her humanoid face, a cheetah type body, and everything like that. It's set at night, so you still could tell like what's CG and what's not CG, but I mean it works in a sense. Like it works for what it is. And then there's a whole Diana running through the street, and like you could see like she's like on a treadmill in a sense, because like the way she's running isn't really realistic, I guess. And like if you look closely, like her feet aren't really touching the ground, so she might be on wires too. So yeah, there's stuff like that. It's just whatever. The CG is passable. The action is nice. The choreography for the fight scene can be done better. There's only like 2 major fight scenes that are both with Wonder Woman and Cheetah. The rest of it is more just action set pieces that happen in the trailer and such, like how the whole desert fight scene with trucks and cars that's in the movie, and it's good. I'll give you that. This movie is watchable. I'll tell you that. It's nothing to gloat about. It's nothing to give overwhelming praise in a sense, but it's also not something that someone could shit upon. Like it's not something that's like, oh my god, this is complete garbage, I'm not gonna watch it at all. No. This movie is watchable. You guys should watch it, and that's all I'm gonna say. Like, watch this movie. Like, if you want a feel good movie, watch this movie. If you want to just kill some time, watch this movie. That's really all I gotta say. So yeah, Wonder Woman 1984. I'll give it a solid thumbs up. Yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Like I guess said before, comment, subscribe, like, share. Again, share. Oh, my bad. I have a special announcement. I started an Instagram account for this channel, so if you guys want, I'll leave a link to that in the description below, along with my Discord and Twitch. Like always, if you guys want to see any more of my content, or if you guys want to hit me up or anything like that, links will be in the description. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.